her sister's husband that normally takes care of her mom.
Yeah, that had the surgery and
He did, he just had back
doing
surgery.
better. So now he's got a blood clot.
He got dysphoria. He didn't know
Yeah.
where he was at or what was happening, so they took him to
When
the
you do like
doctor.
a whole
They ran
decade,
this
it's
test and
like,
found it.
there's so much stuff and it's
So
like
she's
finding
gotta
right
go
here.
down there now
I
and
don't know, I
take
just
care
think
of,
it-
yeah,
Because
her
Tommy
mother
James has some sort of
and him too.
thing, and it's like, why is he always, I mean, it's not like I don't like something.
Yes, and Charlotte was in the emergency room last night with a diverticulitis attack.
Okay.
My mother,
Yeah,
her and Laura's from North Carolina. She lives in North Carolina, and
Yep.
he
I mean,
flew down last Tuesday and then drive up with her so that she doesn't drive alone.
I guess last night she went to the
So,
hospital, or
Well,
we found out
Yeah.
right before church.
Yeah,
Your brother had a wife.
yeah, Catherine texted me, she goes, did you dump this? I'm like, no. Because you know what I replied back to her, I'm like,
seriously,
question mark, question mark, question mark.
She didn't send me anything.
Me either.
A lot longer than that? A lot longer than 2-3 years?
Oh, I'm sure you did.
No, he's saying
Sure
2
you
3
did.
months ago.
Lala's white?
so well.
Those aren't
You
taken
know
care of.
how to jab, don't you? That was a good one. I didn't for that.
Yeah, she's asking about a Gail.
We can find that. We can find that.
She used to sit up front.
I'm gonna go to Facebook and I'm gonna look.
Gail and her husband don't sit in a wheelchair, but the daughter.
I don't
Okay,
remember.
that's not Gail. That's
Gina
And I
Leo's
told
Gene and
daughter.
Leo.
Oh, okay, Gail and Leo, okay.
Gene,
Jean and Leah.
Gene and Leo.
Okay.
Gail is
She-
someone else.
She was asking about him, and I says, I don't know him. I figured if she wants to know, and she's come
Yeah,
to
their
the
daughter
church for
hasn't
a
been
long
here
time,
for a long time.
and
Yeah.
baptized, she should come and she should find out. She says, I haven't heard from her in a long time, and I was wondering about her. I think that maybe she's not around anymore, and I said, well, I don't know. I
Okay,
said, I don't know.
September
You come and ask.
17th,
You
2020.
wanna know?
Good for you.
So it's been almost a year. Almost a year.
3 months ago. see?
But I did sort of ask Laura, and she
This is
said,
the
yeah.
feedback.
Yes.
She's got to get a wheelchair, and somebody else getting a wheelchair from what you guys said at Saturday's meeting. I thought
Yeah, that
somebody
was-
needed a wheelchair, because I got one, but
It's
it's
a year or
not.
two.
That was Monica.
Yeah.
They were saying that Monica was gonna get a new wheelchair.
She has an electric one.
I've never heard of it either.
See, I have a hand push one, yeah, I was telling you.
Gene and Leo's daughter Lisa hasn't been here for a while.
Since COVID.
Yeah, since before the lockdown. They sit up in the front, up on this side. You know, we usually sit on the other side, they sit right in the front on this side. Hello, can you get some coffee? How was work?
Hi, everybody.
They like to be on
Guess
the
what
road.
time it is?
Time to get
Coffee
started.
time.
It's time to study. Mr. Glenn, can we have you lead us in a closing prayer tonight? If you're willing, thank you. All right. Before everybody showed up, my brain was kind of mushy. And I said, what chapters are we in tonight?
Jude 2.
Jude 2. I know that one's wrong.
Acts 29.
And I know that one's
No, that's
wrong.
Jerry that showed that.
Where are we at, Jerry?
I know we're in Job.
Job 11 and 12.
All right, very good.
Matthew 9 and 10. And that's
So-
11 and 12.
I thought 2 and 13.
If you have 12 and 13, you're way ahead of us.
She didn't get it either.
What did I?
Not making your art sketch. Even longer. Oh, okay.
No, she said she had 9 and 10 for review.
Oh no, Jody, did I give you the chapters 13 and 14 for Job?
Stop, I'm not. Wait a minute.
I don't know what I did with them.
Are they still in the
I
printer?
don't feel so bad.
740.
Oh, no. So, class, don't leave immediately afterwards because I got to track down what I did with the next questions.
Maybe we'll look, see if maybe they're in your office.
Maybe I set them down on the table.
Yeah, Dad will look.
Maybe they're on my desk. Who knows? Who knows? My brain's mushy. I have my sheet.
Does it
Anyway.
have the answers on it?
No.
I was gonna say, you can print that one.
Yeah, go ahead.
No.
Just the copies of that.
I just go through and make up crazy questions, and,
Well, we have to.
and then I fill them in just like
Well,
everybody
Anita
else.
gave me hers on Saturday at our ladies' Bible study, and
Yeah.
I said, good, now I can cheat. And I
And
am
did
gonna
you?
say, I did look at hers a couple of times, just to kind of see what she did right. I'm not gonna lie.
Okay, well at least you're admitting that for all the world and YouTube
Hey,
and
I'm not gonna lie. And if she listens later, then she can hear me say, I already told her I was gonna look at it.
funny.
Sean says hi.
Hey
Hi,
Sean,
Sean.
glad to have you here tonight. I know this is kind of private, Sean, but maybe you can keep us informed about work stuff. Maybe Addison already knows, so she's not heard anything. Well, just put it in the chat thing. We'll just share it with the world if you don't care. All right, table to my left. Anything you guys are thankful for, happy for, grateful for?
Nick and I made it in one piece. We were
Just barely.
Barely? Who drove?
I was
We both
behind,
did.
we both
Oh,
did.
you both did.
And
Were
we
you?
almost got sideswiped by this guy in a pickup truck that had Stumpy written across the back.
How did your car, is it gonna get fixed? Is it really
Yeah, I
bad?
got it.
Find him.
I got
They're
it.
around your desk.
I actually got it
Cool,
back
cool.
yesterday.
I grabbed ours.
Thank you. See, told you I had them printed. I just
So if you
set them
got it
down.
fixed, and he doesn't have to pay a red cent for it.
That's good. That's good. Well, he probably shouldn't have considered.
No, you should.
Well, the warranty issues, the tires and all that, and then you found out all the car collision.
I haven't looked
Damages.
at the collision stuff yet, but
Yeah.
I mean, the damage wasn't too bad.
Yeah.
I could probably just live with it.
Get you some real
I could sympathize with that, Nick. Yeah. Anyway, it's all good. It's all good.
When you're backing out, you can do it again.
I'm just learning that minis are really small vehicles, and obviously they're easily missed. I guess go
They
figure.
don't show up in the rear view camera.
I guess not, or the sensor that's going off. I mean, yeah, it's kind of.
My airbag.
What is that?
What's that grinding sound? I'll just keep going. Maybe it's just a pop bottle. Yeah. It's like a larger pop bottle, pop can. Anyway, it's all good. I tell you-
That truck doesn't have anything wrong with his feet,
Well, I
other
mean,
than they're ugly. He went to the foot doctor today because his feet have been bothering him, so there's nothing seriously wrong. Like he doesn't have to have them cut off or anything.
Unless you want beautiful feet.
And they're gonna peg legs.
Yeah.
You know, just put them
Free.
back.
Foot transplants.
if he gets a little baby feet there, transplant.
Wow.
The only thing transplant, turns out the only thing we have is a size 17.
Wow, that would be something, wouldn't it?
A kid's 17.
That's okay, Chuck.
Are you thankful for anything, Chuck?
I'm thankful for my wife.
It's a good response.
Right you are.
Good response. We're gonna move on to Mr. Glenn. You guys can keep this family chat going. Do you have anything, Glenn? That
The Spiegels
glad to have you here tonight.
and John is.
All right, how about the middle section people? What are you guys thankful for?
For trail mix.
For
I
trail
found
mix?
trail mix that I have. It's almond, cashews, and raisins.
Okay.
No, yeah, almonds, cashews, and raisins. And I'm addicted to
Nice
it.
cashews.
I bought it out at all the gas stations locally.
Yeah. We have a trail mix recipe that I probably way too much of it. So
We make it homemade.
yeah, we do. Well, you can raisins and cranberries and pepitas and dark chocolate chips and almonds and chocolate covered almonds, and then you
Leave out
just
everything but the chocolate,
blend.
and then I'll maybe try some.
then you blend it all together, and you're like, ooh man. All right, anybody else in the middle? I'm getting hungry.
I was with Opal yesterday. I took her for ice cream. She's doing well, and she said that Emma was going to rehab, and that she is now doing a little bit better and is going to rehab.
That's good news.
And we walked into Dairy Queen, which I'd never been in this Dairy Queen. I said, well, I'll have a vanilla ice cream in a cup, and Opal goes, I'll have a pecan caramel turtle blueberry.
Miss Opal knows how to do
She
it
knew
right.
how to open, she knew exactly what she did.
That's all right.
That's fun.
She's so cute. Oh, dear.
All right. Anybody else in
She's
the?
our mentor.
Yes, I'm happy about today's doctor's appointment and I'm glad it wasn't a mass, that it's only a cyst, and I'm not gonna worry about that no more. And before I came here, I went and I got my mail, and we get food stamps. And instead of an increase, it's a decrease, but we're blessed because there's some people don't even get that.
Yeah.
They have kids and stuff, and they don't even get that. I remember when my mom was still around, she wanted for my sister, and it was the WIC or something, and she says, no, she can't get it. They're working for Chrysler's or something, they make too much money, they can't get it for the kids.
Well, it's nice that you had a positive attitude
they're-
about it.
She told them something like they're laid off, they hadn't been working for a while, they haven't had that many hours, they just want for the kids. And they fought and they finally got it just for the kids. But, I mean, we're blessed that we got it and that.
And
But
that you have a church that has a pantry.
my boyfriend's mother was a smart ass. Okay,
Ooh,
sorry. for
don't say that. I can't censor that.
So she said, you're gonna probably get cut down on the food stamps or get cut off the food stamps.
Well, it's nice to
Yeah.
that you're still being blessed with it
Yeah.
and having a good attitude about it.
Yeah.
All right, anybody else in the middle table?
Thankful for the garden stuff, all of
For
it.
the garden. That's just-
I thought that was still yours.
I didn't drink it.
That's mine.
What happened Monday?
Trail mix? That was yesterday. We'll go with this table.
Oh, yeah.
'Cause
the
that's-
ladies.
Yeah.
I know, that's what I was going to say, but I mean, we could all steal that.
I thought about stealing that, but
And that would have been,
I stole Vera's cup last week.
that would have been epic. You should have. Maybe I should have started over here first.
Jody, what are you thankful for?
New little baby, and Michelle's healthy, and
Yes.
everything's
She's
good.
so
Michelle
precious.
said that,
Did you see the big bow?
Yes.
The bow is
Bigger than
awesome.
she is. I
And
love
then
it.
and then I love the picture where she's like got the one
I
eye
know.
open.
How about
And
it?
then, that's my favorite.
Oh, she's so
Yeah.
adorable.
Picture of the pacifier?
Oh, did you see the picture of the pacifier too? The pacifier is like the size of her face. I'm like, are they afraid she's gonna steal that? Like, need to chain that down to the crib. So she was what, 6 pounds and some change. I don't remember, 10 ounces, and she was 18 inches long, born at 3 something.
She had a little smooshy face.
But they didn't tell us that she was born until when my phone died. My phone died, and I'm like, but then I had to trade down a charger, and then I turned it back, and I'm like, oh, she was born. But it was a couple hours earlier.
I
Anyway,
kept looking all day long because I knew she was going to have it. I said, well, Hayden doesn't have anything. Hayden doesn't have anything, you know. And then finally there was all these pictures.
And you know how hard it is? They tell us don't tell anybody until they have made the announcement first. We're like, well, they
so we
announced
knew
it to
for
us.
many hours, and
I'm like, I told my family and I said, just act surprised. Because everybody's praying for her. They know about it.
she could be listening. I don't know. But Michelle was going home today. They were going home. So they said that there was a possibility she may have to stay till tomorrow, but I guess everything's
Well,
going
good.
good. So
I
yeah.
think they showed that Hayden made supper for her.
Aw.
Okay.
Taco or burrito.
Making supper by going to the drive-through at Chick-fil-A or
Salsa and chips and either a taco or a
I don't think you would try that at Chick-fil-A. I don't know. Something about Burger King brings out the worst in people.
I've been saying that for years. I've been saying it for years, and you believe me?
You heard about Hayden going backwards to the drive-thru, didn't you? There's probably laws against
Oh, did
that.
you see they taped
Makes it one of
some-
And then he put it on TikTok. Crazy. Anyway. Seemed like I was going to say something else. I don't remember. So we are missing half the class, in case anybody's wondering why. I think we've all pretty well established it. Let's see, we have Vera's not here, John's not here. Was Anita going back to work? Anybody remember?
No, next week.
Next week.
I
So
think she's going back to work next week.
Okay, so they're probably all at, well, Anita's probably with them at Parkview. He's teaching, Vera's teaching, and then obviously Vera's two girls are there, and of course, our girl, who has to be
attached
BFFs
to
with.
them.
Yeah, so she left us yesterday, and she's staying till Thursday?
Yeah.
Thursday evening
Thursday night.
with the Spiegels.
It's our vacation by the schools.
So do we need to call and ask them integrity?
Yeah.
I drilled them yesterday, actually, when they picked up Chloe. I'm like, what's integrity, Rachel and Chloe? And they told us. They just rattled it right off. So I think we need to come up with a new word.
Yeah, they're probably getting sick of you.
We need a new word.
It's establishmentarianism or something.
You can say that one. Well, you all be thinking about, we can all be thinking about.
I think it goes at the end.
What's that?
Prayer will come.
No, we don't do prayer requests on Wednesday.
Oh.
I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. If you got a prayer request, go for it. That's a joke. That's a joke.
I need to pay off my student loan. I went for my nursing interview today at nursing school, and they said I could go in and do it like I planned on doing it, just pay cash for it. But because it's so expensive, they want me to get financial aid, and I owe $4,500 for my student loan
Gotcha.
to my associates. So you guys just pay. They said we want you to pay that off because otherwise you will get burned out. So just pay that off first.
All right. Sounds good. Mr. Glenn's leading us in a closing prayer tonight, and I was totally joking about the prayer request. Totally.
You said it with
So-
a straight face, so that's really good.
Okay, so I learned something. So last week we announced, sadly, my Uncle Lolly, James, passed away. But somebody shared on Facebook, they said, man, Lolly, I'll never, one of my fondest memories of you is how you could crack a joke and keep a straight face. And I'm like, I'm related. So, and I get my sarcasm from my Aunt Donna. So, all right, so I see these family traits. Anyway, yeah, Mom's not sarcastic. I'm competitive because of Mom. Fiery sometimes because of Dad. Anyway, you guys wouldn't know that from my dad. Maybe, I don't know. We should really get into Job. I'm just going to stop talking now. All right, Nick's ready to go. Yeah, Nick, you want to just swap places? I'll sit there. You can just. I don't think you could read my answers.
I mean, it's just a class for a reason.
All right, Job.
You got the answers, so I'm only gonna tell you. So,
All right, so last week, I know Harriet likes for us to do a 5-second review. Job chapters 9 and 10.
But I know you always do it.
Yeah, I do. Just to kind of.
Harry has to keep us on track.
Right. Job chapters 9 and 10 was Job's response to one of his friends. What was his friend's name? That was kind of a mean. Bildad. But he could have been throwing in some extra things to his other friend, Eliphaz, because Eliphaz had already spoken. This week we're going to learn about a new friend of Job's. But before we get into that, here real quick, Job. Here's a summary. Job chapter 11 and 12. There was no compassion given to Job. So I'm not going to say the friend's name yet because that's part of the first question and answer. But he had no compassion on Job. And then in chapter 12, Job begins to reprove his friends. What in the world does it mean to reprove?
Correct.
Correct? Okay. You could
Show them the right way.
show them the right way. What does it mean to reprove? Maybe I should ask the young ladies this next week. Reprove. Yeah, reprove. So,
Criticize or correct.
Okay.
Especially gently.
especially gently? Okay,
That's
well,
what it says, especially gently.
I would think it would be maybe a strong
Well, that's
correction.
the first definition, and number 2 is to disapprove of strongly or censure.
Okay, because we're going to see Job is pretty strong in his rebuttal to his friends. Okay, so let's read through chapter 11, and then we'll answer these questions, and then we'll. I just jotted some notes on the side here. We'll probably deal with it that way. It's just less paperwork for me to have to balance. So, anyway, Job chapter 11, starting verse number 1, it says, "Then Zophar the Naamathite answered and said, Should not the multitude of words be answered, and should a man full of talk be vindicated? Should your empty talk make men hold their peace, and when you mock, should no one rebuke you? For you have said, My doctrine is pure, and I am clean in your eyes. But oh, that God would speak and open his lips against you, that he would show you the secrets of wisdom, for they would double your prudence. Know therefore that God exacts from you less than your iniquity deserves. Can you search out the deep things of God? Can you find out the limits of the Almighty? They are higher than heaven. What can you do? Deeper than Sheol, what can you know? Their measure is longer than the earth and broader than the sea. If he passes by, imprisons and gathers to judgment, then who can hinder him? For he knows deceitful men, he sees wickedness also. Will he not then consider it? For an empty-headed man will be wise when a wild donkey's colt is born a man. If you would prepare your heart and stretch out your hands toward him, if iniquity were in your hand and you put it far away, and would not let wickedness dwell in your tents, then surely you could lift up your face without spot. Yes, you could be steadfast and not fear, because you would forget your misery and remember it as waters that have passed away. Your life would be brighter than noonday. Though you were dark, you would be like the morning, and you would be secure because there is hope. Yes, you would dig around you and take your rest in safety. You would also lie down, and no one would make you afraid. Yes, many would court your favor, but the eyes of the wicked will fail, and they shall not escape, and their hope loss of life. All right, so let's pause there. Question number 1 from Job chapter 11. Who was the next friend to speak to Job?
Zophar the
All right. Very good. So where in the world would a Naamathite be from, do you think? That's a bonus question. Very good. Naama, however you pronounce that. People believe it was from Arabia. Okay. Question number 2, how does Zophar describe Job's responses?
Empty talk.
Many, but empty talk and mocking.
Okay, empty talk, mocking. Anybody have anything extra or added to that?
Yeah, I said, God knows what he's doing. You deserve this.
Okay, so
Job is full of empty talk and mockery.
okay.
God knows what he's doing. Job must deserve this.
All right, so I didn't even put that one down. How did Job view his doctrine or his teaching?
Pure.
All right. So pure and clean in his eyes. Somebody have anything?
I just thought okay.
Okay. So verses 2 through 4, Jody, let's see, I think, you had something extra that God would.
Yeah, well, he describes Job's response. Job is full of empty talk and mockery, and that basically God knows what he's doing and that he deserves this.
Okay.
You know, so.
So did you have like an extra verse thrown in there, like verse 5 or 6?
I didn't put verses.
Oh, you didn't verse. Okay.
I just read an answer.
All right. Okay. Well, I didn't put that down either because we already had verses 2 through 4. Gotcha. All right. Fill in the blank is question number 3 from Job 11, verses 7 through 9. Somebody want to read all of that for us, please?
Can you search out the deep things of God? Can you find out the limits of the Almighty? They are higher than heaven. What can you do? Deeper than Sheol. What can you know? This measure is longer than the earth and broader than the sea.
All right. So, again, one of the challenges here is studying through this. Zophar wasn't completely wrong, right? Because this is a true statement that he makes here in these couple of verses, a few verses, right? I thought of like Deuteronomy 29:29. Anybody know what that says right off on the top of your head? Well, I kind of do. Part of it says the secret things belong to God. And he's revealed the important things to humanity. So Isaiah 55:8-9, God's ways are higher than our ways. God's thoughts are higher than our thoughts. I think that's kind of the impression that Zophar is giving here. Does that make sense? And so that's true. That's accurate. Can we really search out and understand everything there is to know about God?
No, there's
Not even close.
you'll
No.
never be able to get it on.
I mean, there are certainly things that we can know about God and recognize, but I think sometimes the things that we even talk about are maybe mind-boggling to us because we're linear beings. Does that make sense? We
we can know what he has told us about him,
yeah.
but to try and figure out why he does things his way or to question why he does the things he does is, I think, is just blatant disrespect and disbelief,
Yeah.
which, is rampant in the world today.
Absolutely. All right, question number 4. According to Zophar, who does God know and see?
He knows deceitful men and sees wickedness.
All right. Do you know what verse that was found? Anybody got that?
Verse 11.
All right, verse 11. Very good. So again, is this a true statement? Yeah. But is that the whole truth of the statement? I mean, it wasn't. I mean, he wasn't telling a lie, but it was partially true. I mean, but it was accurate, right? And I think when Zophar is saying God knows deceitful men and he sees wickedness, right there we could talk at length about the omniscience of God. God sees everything. God's all-knowing. God's everywhere. You could throw in.
He's probably attributing those, like Zophar in that statement, saying that Job is wicked and Job is a deceitful man.
And God knows.
And God knows,
Yeah.
and that's why he's being punished.
Yeah. So I wrote down a bunch of verses talking about the omniscience of God. For example, we have Psalm 139, verses 1 through 6. The Psalms are full of them. Psalm 147, verse 5. New Testament touches on it a little bit. 1 John 3, verse 20. But if I could have a volunteer turn over and read Proverbs 15 and verse 3 for us.
What was the first song you said?
139, verses 1 through 6.
I'm sorry, Proverbs what?
Proverbs 15 and verse 3.
The eyes of the Lord are in every place, keeping watch on the evil and on the good.
All right. So there you have it, right? The Proverbs tells us that God is seeing everything, both the bad and the good. So it wasn't just focused on, like Zophar was, he probably had some underlying reasons why he's saying this to Job. All right, question number 5. I looked at that and I was like, whoa, that's a difficult question. So I'm intrigued to hear your answers. What if-then statement does Zophar offer? And there could be a lot that could have been
Pretty
written.
much copied verses 13 through 15.
Okay.
And it was if you prepare your heart and stretch out your hands toward him, if iniquity were in your hand and you put it far away and would not let wickedness dwell in your tents, then surely you could lift up your face without spot. Yes, you could be steadfast and not fear.
All right. Very good. Does anybody have anything different? The same? Anybody else?
And the same except the end, you would forget your misery.
Okay. I actually went back to verse 10. That if he passes by, talking about God and imprisons and gathers to judgment, and then verse 14, right, and obviously we have verse 13 about him preparing his heart. Verse 14, if iniquity were in your hand. Essentially what he's saying there is, if God's the judge, and we know that he is, and if Job had any iniquity in him, then he needed to do something. And he's saying there, you need to repent, right? Put that iniquity far from you. And then there would be some benefits from that. Job would be able to lift up his face without spot. In other words, he'd be free from guilt, and he wouldn't have any fear. So, does that sound good? Everybody agree with that?
Yes.
All right, very good. That was kind of a weird question. All right, question number 6. What does hope give, according to the first part of verse number 18?
Security.
All right, anybody have anything different? So,
Rest and safety. I'm just looking at it, and you can say rest and safety.
okay. Well, I came up with security. I think a lot of other people came up, but that kind of is that implication there of rest and safety with security. So what is hope? What is hope?
Expectation, something expectation.
Okay.
Faithful expectation.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah,
Greg, because Greg,
I remember it.
is it faithful or?
It's having a confident expectation
Confident
that something is
expectation,
going to happen. So you have this attitude of an anticipation and expectation that it's going to happen. I think Greg likes to throw in there that it's a joyful. I mean, if you have security there, I mean, obviously you should be joyful about it. Do you think that sometimes we don't express that hope the way that we should today? We struggle with that. I think we just in general struggle with that word hope, because the way we use it, I hope the Tigers win tonight. Are they playing tonight? I don't even know. I'm not keeping up with them. But I hope Miguel Cabrera can hit at least 2 more home runs before he gets injured again. So it leaves there some possibilities that it may not happen, right? And that's the way we generally use the word hope. But that's not the way the Bible uses the word hope.
We use it very loosely.
We use it loosely, but Bible hope, that attitude of anticipation with the expectation that something's going to happen, it gives us security. It gives us some confidence. I know that there's a lot of Christian people that struggle with, well, if I die, what's going to happen to me? Well, study the New Testament, study the book of 1 John, and John tells us if we're living the way that we should be living, doesn't mean we're going to be perfect, but if we're striving to live the way following God's commands, we have the hope of eternal life. Okay. So I just think it's sad when I see people out there that we should be the most hopeful people on the planet. We should be the most joyful, the most thankful, the most content, and I mean the list could go on, but we should also be the most hopeful people.
Well, only God is perfect.
Yeah, I mean we're humans and we make mistakes, and
But our hope is guaranteed.
as long as we're repentant of those mistakes that we make, yeah, I mean
Hoping
Yeah.
the Tigers win.
there's no guarantee.
That's empty hope.
I mean, it's assured that
Yeah.
our reward is there.
Yeah.
We can know.
Yep, that's right. And John uses that word frequently. You can know. Yep, very good. All right, question number 7. What will happen to the wicked?
The veil. They'll not
Rise
escape.
and not escape.
Their hope
Okay,
is lost.
their hope, loss of life. So when he says loss of life there, what do you think he's referring to?
And they're spiritual.
Okay, well, literally that word, at least I have a footnote next to mine. Loss of life is literally the breath of life taken out of them. And so we'll be talking about death. So the wicked would die. You think there's some implication there that he's making towards Job? So,
I think the whole book is, the whole chapter, no, I meant the chapter, the whole
yeah.
chapter is.
Yep. So I think Zophar and really all of his friends are a reminder to each of us to teach the truth in love.
And find better friends.
Better friends. Well, Ephesians 4 verse 15 says, teach the truth in love, right? So we can know the truth, right? And the truth sets us free. We're sanctified by the truth. But if you're like Job's friends and you're maybe beating somebody over the head with the truth, you might actually cause them to, well, be like Job, and Job might retort some things. So let's talk about that. Let's look at Job chapter 12, because this is his response to Zophar. And again, it could just be just a general statement that he's throwing out there to all of his friends.
I like the way that the Apologetics Press breaks it up. Like the chapter one is Job answers his critics.
Yeah, that's I got that heading here too. Yeah. So if you use the New King James Version, I think that's the way the New King James translators put those headings in there. It was a harsh. It was a harsh, strong, answer to these critics. All right, verse number 1, then Job answered and said, no doubt you are the people, and wisdom will die with you. But I have understanding as well as you. I am not inferior to you. Indeed, who does not know such things as these? I am one mocked by his friends, who called on God, and he answered him. The just and blameless who is ridiculed, a lamp is despised, and the thought of one who is at ease, it is made ready for those whose feet slip. The tents of robbers prosper, and those who provoke God are secure in what God provides by his hand. But now ask the beast, and they will teach you, and the birds of the air, and they will tell you, or speak to the earth, and it will teach you, and the fish of the sea will explain to you. Who among all these does not know that the hand of the Lord has done this? In whose hand is the life of every living thing and the breath of all mankind? Does not the ear test words and the mouth taste its food? Wisdom is with aged men, and with length of days understanding. With him are wisdom and strength. He has counsel and understanding. If he breaks a thing down, it cannot be rebuilt. If he imprisons a man, there can be no release. If he withholds the waters, they dry up. If he sends them out, they overwhelm the earth. With him are strength and prudence. The deceived and the deceiver are his. He leads counselors away plundered and makes fools of the judges. He loosens the bonds of kings and binds their waist with a belt. He leads princes away plundered and overthrows the mighty. He deprives the trusted ones of speech and takes away the discernment of the elders. He pours contempt on princes and disarms the mighty. He uncovers deep things out of darkness and brings the shadow of death to light. He makes nations great and destroys them. He enlarges nations and guides them. He takes away the understanding of the chiefs of the people of the earth and makes them wander in the pathless wilderness. They grope in the dark without light, and he makes them stagger like a drunken man. All right. Question number 1 from Job chapter 12 is fill in the blank. Somebody like to take that one for us?
Then Job answered and said, no doubt you are the people, and wisdom will die with you.
All right, so he's clearly responding to, seems like all of them, but maybe Zophar directly. Question number 2, how do we know that Job's friends looked down on him? That is, they were acting condescendingly toward him, verses 3 and 4.
Well, they were mocking him, and he knew it.
Okay, they were mocking
He felt
him.
it.
He felt it, okay.
He said he's not inferior to them, and that he's a laughing stock.
Okay. He was not inferior to them. He felt like he was being mocked. Anybody got anything extra?
He already knows these things that he's saying. This is nothing new to him. I said it's kind of like they were talking down to, like someone would talk down to a child.
Okay.
So Job says he is mocked by his friends. He's just and blameless, but is ridiculed.
Just, blameless, ridiculed. All right. Anybody got anything else? Anything extra? So just to add to that, I put on that he says he has understanding. And literally the idea there is he had heart, or he had the mind of understanding. And so he had the right mind.
Yeah, and he's telling them,
He knew.
I know this just like you do.
Yeah. So like Jody said, don't talk down to me. You know, I'm not inferior to you. It's pretty bad when a godly person has to defend themselves, right? Can you think of anybody in the New Testament that ever found themselves in the position to have to do that?
Paul.
The disciples.
Well, they did. I was thinking of the Apostle Paul. He actually wrote an entire letter, didn't he? Having to defend himself. And he didn't want to have to do that, but he kind of had to bring himself down to the level of those that were attacking him. Can you think of which letter in the New Testament that might be? Any guesses?
Acts.
No, he didn't write Acts. Luke wrote Acts.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
It was of Paul's defense.
I'll help you guys out. It was 2 Corinthians. Because he worked with the church in Corinth, and his first letter to them, he was telling them there's some problems you need to correct. Well, there were some people that were undermining his authority and his teachings, and so he had to write to them again. He's like, listen, I know you people, and you know me. But anyway, there was people saying that Paul was ugly. There were some people saying he wrote scary letters to them. He was a boring preacher, teacher, just on and on and on. So he addresses all that in 2 Corinthians. Love that book. Oh yeah, he didn't get paid, so we don't need to listen to you, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, question number 3, what does Job say happens to robbers and to those that provoke God?
Prosper and are secure.
Okay.
They're still taken care of.
All right, they're still taken care of. God provides for them, right? So that was from verse number 6. Doesn't God do that for everybody?
No.
For the just and the unjust, the rain falls on everybody. And we know that.
And the
But
bad things.
what's that?
The good things and the bad things.
Well, the good things, the bad things, but you have farmers, right, that don't worship God, they don't believe in God, and yet the rain still comes down and provides for the fields. So it's still God providing for them. It's to the providence of God. And we know this happens, Matthew 5, verse 45, Sermon on the Mount. Jesus said it. All right, question number 4. Addison, you got a question?
Which verse that was?
Matthew 5, 45. Question number 4, what could they ask the beast, the birds, the earth, or the fish?
The beast will teach you, the birds will tell you, the earth will teach, and the fish will explain.
Okay.
That's mostly what I got.
Okay, but what would they teach and explain?
The hand of the Lord has done this.
God is in control,
Explain to you.
creation and sustainer of all.
So literally the answer is that the hand of the Lord has done this, right? The latter part of verse number 9. But then the question could be, what is it that the Lord has done? Which goes back to the previous question that he's provided for everything. And he's saying even the animals they show you that, don't they? You think about the fish out there in the ocean. Doesn't God provide for them? And I mean, the list could go on and on of all those things that he mentioned there. The beasts, the birds, the earth. It is just amazing. You think about how, a lot of people get this impression that nature's wonderful and peaceful. Nature's brutal. It is,
They don't watch alone.
Or the Animal Planet.
But God provides.
Or Shark Week.
Everybody is just somebody's food.
Right? God provides for all those animals that are out there, doesn't he? And if he's going to provide for all those animals, isn't he going to provide for humanity? Because aren't we more valuable than the birds of the air?
The humans are the most violent creature on the planet.
No way.
The planet can live without humans. Humans can't live without nature.
No, because in the beginning, God created man to take care of the earth. And so we are the stewards of this earth. Doesn't mean that we are to be abusers of the earth, right? We got to take care of, for future generations. Like, we don't want to be like some people and just throw away all of our plastic, right, Chuck? So let our future generations, inside joke there, to let them deal with it. But we need to do the best that we can to. I mean, God created Adam to tend to the garden. And I guarantee you put a wild lion out there somewhere and a human being, who's going to win? Or a grizzly bear, if you watch Alone. Yeah. Yeah. So I don't think we're the most violent. That's just what modern day people want to tell you. Anyway, not to get political. Question number 5. What comes from living a long life? Verse number 12.
Wisdom and understanding.
Wisdom and, well, it should anyway, right? We should learn. So men, people.
I put age, men, well, I don't know what else I put there, and I put understanding.
And understanding.
I can't read my own writing.
So we get all those things from the length of days. So we would hope that the longer we live, we're gaining some understanding, some wisdom. Hopefully. But he's making this contrast, though. Job's making a contrast between humanity and God, because people, mankind, get wisdom slowly, right? And sometimes it's painfully. Why would it be painfully?
Learn from your mistakes.
You learn from your mistakes. So in contrast, God's already got it. He doesn't have to grow old to get smarter. He's already got all that wisdom. And so that correlates to our next question here, question 6. With him, being God, are what?
Wisdom and strength.
Wisdom, strength, and prudence, which is another name for, it's kind of like wisdom twice over. So, I mean, he's got it, right? He doesn't have to gain those things by age. He doesn't have to make mistakes to gain wisdom. Question number 7, who is God's wisdom compared to in verses 17 through verse 21 and verse 24?
Counselors, judges, kings, princes, the mighty, trusted ones of speech, elders, the chiefs of the people. I can't read that. I started writing it. I put an arrow that says.
But you cheated, because I gave you the verses.
She said, counselors, judges, kings, princes, trusted one, the mighty chiefs.
Okay.
You're right, they're not yours.
All right.
I can't read mine.
It's fun.
Princes and chiefs. That's what I put.
All right. Jody, did you have anything extra?
So things in the deep darkness, great nations, chiefs of the people, he has complete control over all.
Oh, well, he uncovers the deep. Oh, okay. Okay. I was looking at those lists of princes, the mighty, elders, or aged. So he's not talking about like the elders of the church. Princes, again, mighty, chief people of the earth. So if you use the, I believe, King James Version instead of the first princes, what verse would that be? Probably verse 17. Oh, I missed counselors. 19, he leads princes away. That particular word is translated someplace in some Bibles, like King James, as priests. So it's not the Old Testament Mosaical priest. I'm going to give you 2 examples of men that were referred to as priest. How about Melchizedek? You remember him? He was the king. What's that, Chuck? Well, he was a king. He was the king of Salem, and he was the guy who came to Abraham. And if I remember right, didn't Abraham bless him? And Melchizedek said, I should be blessing you. But so Genesis 14 and verse 18, he's not only called the king of Salem, but he's called the priest. And here's another one. How about Jethro? Anybody?
Midianites.
He's
Yes.
from Beverly Hillbillies.
Well, pre-Beverly Hillbillies, he was a Midianite. He was related to Moses, wasn't he? If I remember this right. Wasn't he the father-in-law of Moses? Very good. He was a priest of the Midianites. Exodus 3 and verse number 1. So there's just a couple of examples, because I know that I've said in the past that the book of Job does not refer to the Mosaical law, and I didn't want anybody to look at this and go, oh, it says right there, priest. There were other priests before the law of Moses came in. All right? Hope I didn't confuse anybody. Hope I didn't confuse myself. We'll have a talk later. All right, any other thoughts, comments, questions? Addison's got a question.
So some translations translate it as princes?
Well, New King James uses the word princes, and King James uses priests.
Okay.
So we're missing John tonight. I'm sure John would attest to that if he were here.
ESV says priest too.
ESV says priest? Okay. Well, New King James Version uses the word princes.
So do you know if the princes in 21 is the same?
It's a different Hebrew word.
Okay.
Yep, I looked that up. I do remember that. All right, very good. So just real quick highlight, or just share this with you guys. Obviously, there's no way, however many questions we have, 7 questions through this chapter, and however many we had, 7 through chapter 11. There's no way we're covering everything in detail. So let's just kind of pique your interest so that you could do some more digging and studying Thursday through next week, if you're so inclined. All right. Anybody have anything else? All right. Well, if we don't, thank you guys very much. Thank you on YouTube. Glenn's going to close us out with a word of prayer, and then I'll shut this down and we'll hand out questions for next week. Brother Glenn.
Our great and kind Heavenly Father, thank you for this day and the myriad of blessings that you give us on a daily basis. Thank you for this congregation. You bless it and certainly be with it. We thank you for this class and the good job that Ryan does teaching it. Pray that you bless us in this preparation for this. Pray that you be with any of our sick, all of them mentioned recently, and certainly the family of our members that are ill, and certainly need all of them as well. I want to thank you very much that Hayden and his wife had a new little baby, and we're thankful he's doing well, and got to come home from them today, and certainly bless that little child and bless that family. And we also pray that you be with Amber and her ability to, the financial issues she's dealing with, and her schooling, and pray that this can work out and some benefits for her. We pray that you would be with us now and forgive us for our sins. In Jesus' name.
Amen. All right. Bye. Bye.
Bye, everybody.
Don't forget to click that like button and subscribe.
All right, I'll be
Ring the bell.